Jesus said to her, "Mary." It's such a simple thing to say. Of all the things Jesus could say to this woman, this friend who had companioned him for so much of his ministry, including through his brutal death at the hands of the state and the terrifying hours and days that followed, what he says is Mary. This is arguably the lowest point in Mary Magdalene's life. Having left a difficult situation to follow an itinerant preacher whom she knew to be the Messiah, she witnessed his betrayal, arrest, and execution. And now, fully aware of the danger of being out in public as a known follower of the convicted Jesus, let alone a female one, for in John's Gospel she's alone at the tomb, Mary goes out in the early morning to do the work that needed to be done, to tend to the body after death. But Jesus is not there. What must she have thought? Her Lord, the man for whom she had abandoned all she knew and whom she had served faithfully for 3 years, was not only dead, but gone. Mary did what many of us would do. She ran for help. But Simon Peter and the other disciple offered her no comfort or assistance. They saw what she saw, the rolled away stone, the linen wrappings. And the gospel says they believed, not that Jesus was risen, they hadn't gotten there yet, but simply that he was missing. And then they left her, just as sad and confused and afraid as she had been before. Mary in despair. What do we do in our moments of despair? Where is our promise of spring when the winter seems so long, so inescapable? When the people and institutions we rely on disappoint us, or seem to be actively working to harm us? When the world feels hopelessly broken? Do we hide? Do we weep? Do we fight? What do we do to keep from sinking into hopelessness? For Mary, the answer is connection, specifically connection with the divine. Though the disciples leave her by herself at the tomb, she is not truly alone. God is with her in the person of the angels and of Jesus himself. They all ask her, "Why are you weeping?" Mary could have answered any number of ways. She wept because she was scared, because she was a fugitive, because she had no idea what she could do with the rest of her life now that her Lord was gone. But instead, she focused on the immediate and practical. "They have taken away my Lord. Tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away. Give me something to do so I can feel useful. Let me focus on this immediate thing to keep me from drowning in the magnitude of everything that has gone wrong." And Jesus said to her, "Mary." That is grace. That is the grace shown to Mary in her despair. Jesus calling her by name, calling her back to herself. In that moment of personal recognition, the fog of hopelessness is lifted. Mary sees Jesus for who he is because he first saw her. In that moment, Mary's path is clear. She has seen the Lord. All is not lost. This moment of connection is not limited to the divine. Jesus is not the only one who can call us back to ourselves, for we live in community with God and with one another. Many of us have struggled or are struggling with despair and hopelessness. We see large-scale problems for which the solutions are hidden at best and impossible at worst. We see small indignities day after day that eat away at our sense of self and our sense of connection with one another. Our friends and family disappoint us. Our leaders seem indifferent to our needs. It is hard to see the promise of spring in the face of so much winter. And let's be clear, none of us can solve all the world's problems by ourselves. None of us can fix every mistake we make. None of us can lift every burden from those we love, no matter how hard we try. For those, like me, who place a high value on being useful and effective, the breadth and depth of the world's problems can feel overwhelming. None of us is God. But still, we must try. We must strive to keep despair at bay. And we do that by relying on one another for support. We live in community every day. We can each make the same connection with our neighbors that Mary made with Jesus. We can each embody the promise of spring in the midst of someone's winter. So say hello. Bring a meal. Leave a kindness rock for someone else to find. Pick up the trash barrel that fell into the street. Pay for the coffee order behind you. Let the other car emerge in front of you. Go to the funeral. Make the connection. Let our neighbors know that we see them in their joy and in their pain. And maybe, if we listen hard enough, we can hear the voice of Jesus calling us back to ourselves, calling each of us by name. Emily, Laura, Jeff, Kira, Mickey, Mary. Happy Easter, my friends.